We've seen a dramatic drop in inventories over the past year, over 200 million barrels.
What caused that?
That's OPEC cuts were part of it, plus Venezuela going down from 2 million barrels a day to 1.3 million barrels a day currently. So big drop in Venezuela. And so we've seen this. The OPEC cuts were like supposed to be 1.8 million barrels a day. Yeah. They turned out to be 2.8 million barrels a day. Much bigger because of the drop in Venezuela and other countries. So we've seen inventories come down dramatically. We had a pretty big stock draw in June, and we're going to continue to see stock draws in the third quarter. 2/3 of what drives price is inventory change. So if inventories are going down, it's hard for price not to go up. The other third is driven by the demand for inventory. That's everyone who buys and sells oil. What's in their minds? Are they comfortable holding inventory or not? We all know what the supply of inventory is. We see it every Wednesday in the DOE data. But the demand for inventory is kind of a little more difficult. We never see it. It's in people's minds. And it's driven by market psychology, OPEC, fear of interruptions in supply. And here we have now Iranian sanctions, the Trump administration calling for zero imports from Iran beginning in November. This is going to lead to a sharp reduction in Iranian exports and add to the stock decline later in the third quarter.
The president is also calling for Saudi Arabia to increase their production. Your thoughts on whether or not that will be met to the extent he would like to see?
They already started going up in June quite a bit, and they're going up even more in July. The question is, will it be enough? Do they have enough capacity? They're producing somewhere around 10.7 to 11 now. And the question is, how much can they ultimately produce? We all remember back in 2008, the Bush administration kept on saying, well, the Saudis are going to increase production, but they never really did because they couldn't. Cheney went over there, came back and said, well, they can't do what they can't do, and they couldn't increase production. So there's a real question of how much they really can bring on the market. So perhaps 11 million barrels a day, 11.3, that's all we think they have the capability of. So it sets the market up for quite a tight situation.
How far can that psychology of potential constricted supply down the road or demand for inventories take this price? Because, I think that's the question now. What's already priced in terms of potential supply disruptions and the lack of the Saudis' ability to add to supply?
That's a very difficult question because a lot of it is priced in. But on the other hand, it's the surprise element. We've just lost 500 a day of Libyan oil in the past 2 weeks. What happens in Libya is a key factor. People worried about Trump using the SPR card, knowing that he's worried about gasoline prices. That's an issue. I think directionally the market's going to go higher under the pressure of stock draws. Now, in the fall, we have refinery maintenance season. So that's in another month, 2 months, we'll be talking about crude demand going down because refineries are going down for maintenance. And it's a weaker demand period also.
You haven't said anything about global growth or 4% GDP.
Yeah, it's strong.
Does that ever matter?
It's a big deal. It's part of the reason why we've seen this 200 million plus decline in inventories.
We were the swing producer now with our fracking and horizontal drilling. You haven't said a word about that. Are we on 100% open right now?
We are 100% open.
That's not helping.
It's helping. We're producing incrementally 1.3, 1.4 million barrels a day of crude oil year on year.
That's what I thought we were basing everything on. That you haven't mentioned it at all about where we are.
Well, it's a big factor, but at the margin, it can't supply this gap, this deficit.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.